Welcome back to another week with me, Arthur Benjamin, and my co-host, Farrah White, and Bandit here, who is going to introduce you to one of the amazing animal advocates in the Fort Worth area today, and he'd like to introduce you to her dog, Maggie.
Yes, we're very fortunate. Today's guest is Dr. Erin Schultz. She's the CEO of Maisie's Mission, which is an organization that takes in special need animals. So thank you so much for being here, Erin.
Thank you.
Hi, Maggie.
And this sweet little baby that you brought, tell us her story.
This is Maggie. About 6 weeks ago, she was left in the overnight drop box at Dallas Animal Services with 3 of her puppies that were just a few hours old. I think the owners got a little concerned after she gave birth because 2 of the dogs don't have front legs. So they called me, and we right now have all 3 dogs, and we are rehabilitating the 2 dogs with no front legs. And then we have the 3rd one, which is a little girl. Her name is Macy, and she's perfectly normal, and she'll be going to a foster in about a week and a half. But we'll keep the 2-legged ones for quite some time. It's Maverick and Moose, 2 boys, and we are rehabilitating them to walk on their 2 back legs.
Oh, and so someone literally put them in a drop box?
Yes, at that shelter they actually have, or overnight, they have little kennels that you can place your pet in if you don't want to do it during the day.
And people won't believe it, but dogs can be trained to walk on their back legs.
Absolutely.
There's that great dog,
Absolutely.
Hope, that taught us so much.
Yes, absolutely they can. Maverick is doing very well. He's already getting pretty vertical. Moose is having a little bit of a problem where we've made a little contraption to kind of help him start to work his way up. So we'll get there.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we'll get him there.
That is amazing. So tell us about Maisie's Mission and how it started.
Well, Maisie's Mission was founded back in 2009. I had an epiphany one day when I was doing a puppy mill raid. I was volunteering some of my veterinary services to a puppy mill raid in Kaufman County. There were 542 dogs that were seized from a woman's property. That day, that whole day changed my life. That's when I said this, private practice is wonderful. I had been practicing for 12 years at that time, but I knew then that was my calling and that I needed to do something to help stop this. So that's when I founded Maisie's Mission. About 3 months later, I founded the organization and concentrated on taking special needs animals from shelters or animals that were about to be euthanized. Those are what we concentrate on, what we pull in. And we have, grown in the last couple of years. We did our first adoption event exactly 2 years ago, and in May of 2010, and we've been going strong since.
Nice. Well, and so you had a private practice before that?
I actually practiced in private practice. I didn't own a practice of my own, but I was an associate, and I just quit that. And
so that's really helped, I'm sure.
Yes.
Background. Now, what is your ultimate goal with Maisie's Mission?
Our ultimate goal is to build a veterinary hospital and rehabilitation center for rescue groups and shelters, animals only. We won't be open to the public.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, because it's a special needs
organization. So we basically will be offering veterinary services to rescue groups in the municipal shelters at a decreased rate, decreased cost actually, and to make it easier for them to obtain veterinary care.
Nice. So there's got to be a lot of local organizations that you work with.
Yes, there's several I work with already. I lease out a veterinary clinic right now by the hour and can, kind of just work as a normal veterinary hospital. I do have plenty of volunteers, veterinary technicians that come and help me out and volunteer their time with surgery and just basic care. So, but it would be a lot better if we had a facility of our own.
Sure. Now, how do you find volunteers, or what can people do if they're interested?
Well, they can absolutely go to our website or our Facebook page. Our website is www.maisiesmission.org, and then Facebook is just our page is Maisie's Mission, and inquire there on volunteering. We need help at adoption events, at fundraising events. We also have an adopt-a-thon that's coming up, a 48-hour adopt-a-thon in October that we are going to need a lot of help
Oh,
for
really?
that. Yes.
And what is that
Yes.
going to be like? What is that process?
We did one last year in last October, and it was just a 24-hour one. We started at Friday at 9 p.m. and went until Saturday at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And we adopted out 94 animals in that period of time. We
Nice.
invited 8 different rescue groups and shelters, and we hosted the event at the Villages at Fairview and just opened up to the public, and it was, in my opinion, very, very successful. This year we're doing it for a full 48 hours from 9 p.m. on Friday until 6 p.m. on Sunday. And we're going to invite 12 groups this time. And our goal is 250 animals to adopt out over the weekend. And we actually got a $10,000 grant from PetSmart's charities to help market the event.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, that'll be
Yes,
really
we're very
helpful.
excited. We're very, very excited for this year.
Yeah, that's going to be, it is, it's like a telethon.
Yes.
You know,
It
as
is. Yes,
far as
it is.
staying
It's
up
exactly
and-
what it is. Actually, we call it our marathon. So our adopt-a-thon marathon. So we're very excited, and we've already had about 6 different groups sign up, even though we're 5 months out. And so it's going to be huge this
So
year.
you'd expect to have at least a few hundred dogs.
Absolutely. We're probably going to end
And
up having
cats.
about 300
wow.
animals there to choose from. Yes, it's going to be a constant rotation. Once an animal gets adopted, then that particular group will fill the cage with another one that's waiting. So, yeah,
Well, that's going to be amazing.
it will be amazing. We're very excited
So
for it.
we'll have to post that up on our website.
Yes,
but
thank you.
let's talk more about the rescue hospital and the
ma'am.
rehab center, and what we can do to help you reach those
And
goals.
what it's going to take to get you there.
Yeah.
What it's going to take to get us there, the hospital itself, what we have found out is going to be about $1.9 million to build a hospital, which, you know, it sounds like a lot of money, but for what we're going to be providing, I think it's very, very doable. That does not include land purchase. But what we can, how you can help is just spreading the word, you know, talking to like-minded animal advocates. And, you know, there's a lot of very generous people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that would love to see something like this built. And if we can just get in front of the right people, I think we can absolutely get it built.
Where are you thinking that you want to have it
My
done?
only desire really is that it's in Collin County. The other caveat to that, though, is that it needs to be accessible to the public and to rescue groups. So I have found a lot of land that is out there where we originally were looking for about 50 to 75 acres, but we decided we may need to scale that down a little bit in order to keep it closer to the public. So we've gone down to 30 acres, which is still a lot of land, but I would just like for it to be in Collin County and, you know, somewhat accessible. We can't have it out in the middle of nowhere
So
because
if
no
there's
one's gonna
somebody
go
out
there.
here who would like to donate a little land to you, preferably about 30 acres in
fantastic.
Collin County,
That would be fantastic.
we'll give you a phone number to call in
Yes,
a little
thank
bit that
you.
you
I
can
would
donate
appreciate
that.
that.
And I'm sure if there's a nice person out there who has $1 million, you'd find a way to tie their name into the
You
hospital.
bet, you bet. We have all kinds of opportunities for you to be able to sponsor the hospital. You can sponsor either the ICU ward, the surgery department, exam rooms. There's all different types of ways that you can sponsor each one of those and have a plaque out there so everyone knows that you sponsored.
Well, that's going to be amazing.
Yes.
And I'm sure it'll get done.
So
hope so.
what's the prognosis for the Maggie's two little puppies that will you eventually allow them to be adopted out?
Absolutely, but the screening process is going to be brutal. But I think their prognosis is very good. At the beginning, I wasn't real sure. We kind of kept it under wraps that we actually had them because I didn't want it to be too big of a deal until I knew that they were going to be okay.
Sure.
But over the last 7 to 10 days, they have made some pretty great strides, and especially Maverick. I mean, he really gets pretty far across the floor. I mean, he does really very, very well, and they have great spirits. They you know, when they see a human, their tails wag and they get excited, and so there's absolutely no way that I'm not going to allow them to be rehabilitated and walk. We'll figure it out.
I don't know if you know, Bandit was born without the use of his rear legs.
Really, I was
So
not aware
he
of that.
could not.
He was born
could
that
not-
way?
He birth trauma.
Okay.
And we managed to rehabilitate him,
Wow.
but he has use of his rear legs, and luckily enough, he was born with rear legs, so
Yes, yes.
it makes it a
luckily.
little harder
Yeah.
when you don't have them.
Right, when you don't have them at all.
But they're tigers. I mean, he was Scooter for the first 8 weeks. He pulled himself around, just
Really?
dragging his legs behind him.
Wow, that's
Now,
amazing.
do the puppies look like mom?
Actually, they don't. We're not really sure what Dad was. He might have some fox or rat terrier in him. Moose probably looks the most like Mom. A little bit of Yorkie.
Moose.
I call her Yorkie Mutt. Moose is one of the males with the 2 legs. But the other 2 really don't look like her. There's a lot of white in them. And
So Macy, who doesn't look like her, but probably is every bit as sweet, will
Absolutely.
be available for adoption when?
Probably in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh,
No,
That'll
you
be
have 2.
I know, and I have 2 that I found on the side of the road. One of them has been on the show.
She's
Boy,
so
gotta get
creative
Whitey
at
on.
naming dogs, too.
Oh, Blackie and Whitey. Guess what colors they are?
Oh,
One's red and the other one.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. But enough about that. Tell us when you first got interested in working with animals. Like, when did you know that's what you wanted to do?
gosh, I get asked that, and really, I never knew I wanted to do anything else. I was probably 7 or 8 years
Really?
old, and all little girls say, I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up, and they get patted on the head and say, that's really sweet. But there was never, I just kept going with it and never ever wanted to do anything else. And I was just extremely fortunate that all the cards laid right for me, because very easily I could have not gotten into vet school, or something could have happened, but it all worked out great, and I'm very, very fortunate to be where I am. And there was nothing there, and I still to today think there's absolutely nothing else I could be doing that I would enjoy as much as practicing veterinary medicine. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, especially when you started seeking that goal that young. Did you grow up with a lot of pets?
Not a lot. I didn't have a cat until I was in college.
Do you think that had something to do with it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But we always had dogs growing up, but we didn't have a lot of dogs. There was always like one dog in the
It was
household.
animal
growing
deprivation.
up.
Well, seriously, sometimes if you think about that you got that pleasure or had those relationships filled from maybe being at friends' house,
Right,
houses
right.
that had pets and such.
Well, my father said he actually wanted to be a veterinarian too when he was younger, but he was in the Navy and then had children very young, so that was just never an option for him. So
It's the vet gene.
it is. I
It
guess
is the
it's
vet gene.
genetic.
It's funny. I didn't have a cat until I was 18. Also, I'd had one dog, but the cats were off the chart. They weren't allowed. I had to wait till I was 18 to get.
Yeah. I really didn't like cats. They were fine, but until I got my own cats, then I realized why people love cats so much, because they are very, very unique creatures. They really are.
Oh, sure. Well, animals in general, I think we end up just having a fondness for, and try to work them into the show in any way that we can.
Right.
Because we've talked about the different zoos that have been around town that have had to be the wild animals that in captivity that
Right.
shouldn't be, and
Right.
different things like that. Now, how did you get involved with the raid that you talked about in 2009?
I was just called, and I think they were just calling some local veterinarians and asking if we had the ability to either donate some supplies or donate any time. And it just happened to work out that the day that I got the phone call, I was off the next day. It was just my day off during the week. So I went down that evening and was going to stay the night and just to help them out, because I thought 500 animals, that was just overwhelming to me to even think about. And if it had happened any other day and I didn't have the next day off, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah.
But I went in there and I said, oh my gosh, this completely
Were there any
changes.
special needs animals there?
Most of them ended up being special needs just because of neglect. They had mammary tumors, or there were animals being born without legs. But it was in a much more dramatic sense than Maggie's pups. All of them were extremely neglected. Several had to be euthanized on site because they were suffering horribly. But the overall magnitude of needing to find 542 animals' homes was amazing to me, and it was Humane Society of the United States was over that raid, and it went very well. I was very impressed, and thought there's something I can do here, because they were having problems getting veterinarians to be able to come and help out, and because they have practices to keep up,
Sure.
and they just can't leave their practice and do that. So it just, as I said, everything went perfectly in the fact that I had my day off. I didn't have a practice that I had to upkeep, and I was able to just absolutely change my life in a 180 degree and be able to do it.
That's amazing, because so many of the people on the show, and we're all tied together in a way. American Dog Rescue donates to the rescue organization, part of the Humane Society of the United States, which provided for the Kaufman raid. The Kaufman raid obviously affected your life as it did, and just the other week we had the SPCA on, who took 250 of the animals from the Kaufman raid. So it's just so amazing how the interrelationship of people who have really never met, never get the chance, all come together in some way through a show like this, or through Maggie's story.
I love it, absolutely. Well, and on that show with the SPCA, we had talked about sometimes the unpleasantries of it, but how necessary it is to make those known. So if you don't mind, because we have a couple of minutes left, tell us just for a minute or so what that was like. I mean, tell us like what happened when you got there, and what you thought and what you saw.
Right. Well, I did not go on the woman's property. They had already gone on the property and seized all the animals. So I was not able to see the actual conditions that they lived in. I saw a video of it afterwards, and I was, of course, appalled just like everybody else. I was just as naive, even though I was a veterinarian, I was just as naive. I had no idea that people could be that evil and breed animals like that just for a profit. It was astounding to me. But walking into the emergency shelter that they had, which was just basically the fairgrounds in Kaufman, I mean, there was just animals everywhere. I mean, they were just everywhere in crates that, at least they were clean and cared for. But, I mean, there were dogs giving birth, each day. There were, animals being born not alive. There were animals that had ear infections so bad that it had, come over to their face, and their face was infected. There was teeth that, I mean, you just can't imagine the amount of rot that was in some of these animals' mouths. It was horrible, and matting of their fur, and fleas, and eye infections, and it was overwhelming and unbelievable to me that someone could allow that to happen. And what's totally horrible about that case is 2 years later, they went in and busted the same woman again. She only had 50 animals this time, but I was part of that raid also, in that she had been ordered to not breed anymore, but of course she didn't listen, and she had to be shut down again.
Oh, gosh, see, and I didn't even know that. Well, I'm sorry. I just think it's so necessary for people to hear that and to know. I mean, just because it's just as real now as it was a couple of years ago.
Right. Well, the laws are out there, but they're only as good as what can be enforced.
Sure.
So, we have animal cruelty laws out there, but a lot of people either aren't aware of them, or they're not being enforced for a myriad of reasons. But I'm also on the board of THLN, and you've had Skip Trimble on here, and they worked very, very hard on the puppy mill bill, which is a good bill, but has to be enforced.
Sure.
And so we have to rely on an agency to enforce that, and we have good feelings that hopefully this will be enforced.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, and I know we've got some pictures that will be on our website of all the animals that you have up for adoption. We were going to run through some of them on this segment, but have run out of time. But thank you so much for coming and going back to that dark place and telling us those stories, because it is so necessary. And what people can do if you want to help, you can go to Maisie's Mission by logging on to the website, which is maisiesmission.org. And there you can get some of your questions answered and hopefully help out. We'll be right back.
I'm not a ventriloquist. I go, hi, I'm Bandit. We are on the cutting edge. We are the only show on TV that has a dog co-host, and my name's Bandit. But we are on the cutting edge. There's a lot going on
Yes.
with dogs in television and in movies right now. And I know
Absolutely.
you're about to do a movie.
Yeah.
Another movie, another dog movie.
Another
Angel
dog
Dog was
movie.
big, and you're about to do a dog named. You're about to do a film on a dog and a wonderful child. And
Yes.
can I say the name?
Sure.
Champion.
Champion. Champion's our new film that we've got coming up.
She'll be coming out in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And American Dog Rescue is involved with the film.
They are, which I'm so happy about because I really think it'll be a great revenue generator for American Dog Rescue.
So that was
that
the
they can
first
help so much
Bandit
more.
commercial.
It really was. By the way, he looked great on camera.
Well,
did you see that close up? Punch in on him again. Let's look at him again.
All right, you do the
We
music.
didn't get to the content, right?
You do the
Boom,
music.
boom, 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 boom. Hey, boom, 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 boom. Hey. He's dancing for American Dog Rescue.
But there are a number of shows. CBS has a show.
Yeah, CBS has a show. It's called Dogs in the City, which is kind of funny. But it's a comedian who he's involved in rescue, and it's Justin Silver is his name. So he's a comic and a dog trainer, which I bet is going to be fabulous and funny. And they deal with all kinds of interesting, funny topics. I say interesting and funny topics, and I'm going to say divorce, which isn't that isn't that funny. But I'm sure they're finding a way to make it funny. So joking about animals as far
And
as
then
divorce
HBO.
and custody, and
Oh well, yes.
so it has all of the
It
different
probably will be pretty.
how
funny.
it affects the dogs and what they think. Because if you really think about it, I'm sure it does.
It does.
On some levels, and people fighting over their pets.
Tuesday and Thursday night, at one
Right?
house
Yeah,
and-
custody battles, behavioral issues. But
Well, it's always the people. It's never the dog.
it's so
I
true.
mean, remember the trainer we had on?
Yep,
Doug the dog guy?
absolutely.
Dave the dog guy.
Dave the dog
Sorry.
guy.
And it's always the dog. I mean,
always the
it's
people.
always the dog that gets blamed, and it's the people that have the problem.
Right, or it's the people that
Look, I make
elicit
him
the
dance.
behavior.
He's got a dance phobia now.
Bandit is so exhausted that dancing really, really did him
But
in.
HBO's got something coming
And
out. who
PBS,
else?
HBO, the Disney Channel. So they're all releasing documentaries for TV series. So it's going to be a busy summer for dog shows. And of course, Champion, which is going to be filmed here in Texas, which is great. And I think we'll have a lot of fun. We'll be able to show some clips
Well, good.
later on
Yep.
with that. But speaking of CBS, they produce a lot of great stories, and one of them that we're going to show you today deals with an autistic child and a dog, and that special bond between the two, and the effects that dogs have with autistic children, and some of the great work that's being done. So if we can roll that clip.
11-year-old Parker Weisar is just about the most well-behaved kid you'll ever meet. Now,
Who was this little boy before?
This little boy was just crazy, wild, outrageous.
You were?
Yes.
Parker has a form of autism called Asperger's syndrome, and one of the symptoms can be violent outbursts.
Caution, it is extremely hot.
Couldn't deal with it.
We would have incidences in the classroom where he would kind of clear off the bookshelves.
Parker's parents, Wendy and Mark, say they tried everything, but not until recently did they find something that really seemed to fix it.
Oh boy.
Almost instantly.
Some things changed right away, and it was a little overwhelming. We'd look at each other and go, "Oh my goodness."
What worked for them was Candy. That's the dog's name, Candy. She's a certified assistance dog whose job basically is
Come on, girl.
just to be with him, to stick right there by his side, 24/7.
She helps me. She calms me down. She lets me know that she's there when I'm about to have a meltdown.
They got the dog about a year ago, and Parker hasn't had an outburst since. And that's just half the story. Kids with autism have a lot of other issues too. And for those,
Go jump.
there's this: dog agility.
Was that hard to learn at first?
Yes, really extremely tough.
Although generally the domain of middle-aged women, Parker's mom says the sport is also great autism therapy.
Candy and Parker, you're next.
You're doing speech therapy. You've got to get commands out
Can you go jump?
while you're running.
Go jump.
And you have to keep your body in control when you don't have good motor movement.
Turn.
You also have to learn how to handle disappointment,
Come.
especially with this dog.
What in the world is with you?
She's yet to actually finish a course, but Parker doesn't seem to mind.
Who do you think would benefit from having a dog like Candy around?
Anybody who has autism, anybody in the world would be just benefit from it. She's just like a healing dog.
Healing for Parker. The idea is still new and unproven.
42.
But to this kid,
Candy?
on this day especially, there was no doubt his dog had some kind of magic. Remember how I said Candy never completed a course before?
Candy, go jump.
Well, during the last race, something got into that girl. Did every through, made every over, an absolutely flawless performance.
Over.
Candy not only finished for the first time, she actually finished first.
First place.
And that's an autistic outburst they can live with. Steve Hartman, CBS News, Phoenix.
Well, they did it again.
They did do it again.
Dogs and people. Gets me every time.
What an amazing story. And, you know, we didn't bring that up. You brought up Champion the movie. It's actually a very similar story. So, about
Well, we'll look forward to seeing it. Bandit
Good
says
video.
he'll stay awake for the whole movie.
Bandit may have to have a part. I have to find, he isn't going to sleep. Yeah, no, she did it again. It's like, let's make us
What a
cry.
wonderful thing dogs do for people who have disabilities.
Oh, it's
Whether
so
it's
true.
autism or post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Absolutely.
Or traumatic brain injury or sexual trauma disorder. Dogs are a solution that we're only finding out. We're just on the cutting edge, like we're on the cutting edge of dog shows.
No, it's true. And so, you know, help us and help us continue. Learn more about us at AmericanDogRescue.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.